Hello, this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about, Kari Lake was on a program and she bashed DeSantis for being like, not just pro-mask, pro-vaccine. She said he was forced people to do it, and she's being bashed by some people like, ma'am, this isn't true. And there's also videos of her really praising DeSantis not too long ago. So I primaries get messy. She obviously has a horse that she's backing. She's very, very pro-Trump, and a lot of people are. I just don't like the dishonesty, I guess. So we're talking about that. Also, more fallout from the Canadian Parliament honoring a Nazi. So we talked a little bit about that yesterday at the beginning of the show, but the speaker has resigned over it. The Conservative Party is really pushing Trudeau to at least apologize. And the other day he's not accepting any sort of responsibility. They already had someone who fell on their sword for it, and he knows it's embarrassing and stuff. But he said yesterday he made comments about combating Russia propaganda and a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And this whole situation is very interesting, especially considering that they like to throw my opponent is a Nazi thing with other stuff, particularly the trucker situation, the trucker convoy. So I got some little flashbacks to show you as we continue talking about the situation. So it's all very fascinating. at least to me. I don't talk much about Canadian politics. I always find it fascinating when people from around the world, are interested in and watch programs like this, which I talk a lot mainly about US politics. Because I'm from the US, and that's where I know a lot about stuff from. But this is international news and a big embarrassment for Canadians. And I had the Canadian person in my comments the other day was like, "Yep, we are embarrassed." So no one is saying they're not, but they tried to strike it from the record the other day. So it's getting kind of wild. So I want to talk about it. Also, a debate has been confirmed between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis, which is very interesting because it kind of seemed like before that was a matchup that people were trying to gear toward or build. And, who knows? It could still be the thing that's going to happen. But we shall see. We shall see. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content from my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream, it costs to run my website, all that stuff. So you guys can support in that way. I very much appreciate it. Also need to, if I look a little blurry, which I'm sure I do, I need to get a new webcam, so that's another thing on the list of things that we need here at Black Tea News. So if you can support, again, go to the website. There's a link in the description if watching on Facebook or YouTube. So again, thank you if you have supported in the past, or if you can support. Check out different merchandise that we have at the store. I saw someone at the store just got the "You Are Not That Special" shirts. So we got that. We also got those in mugs as well. It is also pumpkin spice season, so you can trigger someone, or make someone laugh, whatever. So those are available. We also got other stuff, black tea mugs, etc. So go ahead and check out the merch at the website. Check out different books that we have available, like How to Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. That's a nonfiction faith book that I wrote. And that's available on Amazon. You guys can get it on paperback. You guys can get it on ebook as well. And I actually have 17 books that I've published. 2 are nonfiction, the rest are fiction. So if you like I wrote all kinds of different things. So search my name out on Amazon. But a book I have to talk about and usually talk about is my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That's available on Amazon, but also Barnes and Noble as well. So go ahead and check it out. So I've heard things about the Ohio ballot initiative to change the constitution to, like allow abortion and stuff. And it's not just abortion. And it sounded very similar to what has happened in Michigan. So if you're from Ohio, I just want to give you a really good warning that they successfully passed in Michigan, and Democrats are already trying to make people, the taxpayer, pay for abortions and other stuff that normal people find repulsive. They are really pushing as far as they can, because right now they have a Democrat majority in the House and the Senate, and they, the governor will sign whatever they do. So they're really pushing some radical things. So you may be, someone from Ohio who sees a ballot measure, and what's on the ballot versus what all it will do are going to be different things. So please make sure that you look up the entire bill and read through it. Kirsten Hawkins had retweeted a YouTube video that did a good breakdown of it. So I recommend that you guys go look at that. If you don't know much about it, we'll go through it late at a later time, I suppose, in more detail. But it's very similar things. And I knew if they were successful in Michigan, they would move on to Ohio. And just like, in the Michigan bill, it was like, okay, it's not a right for women, it's a right for every individual. And it's not specified that it's adult women. It's every individual, and all these reproductive things, which is not going to just be specific to abortion. It's going to be, it's going to entail a lot of other different things, including people fear, gender reassignment sort of things, or at least puberty blockers and so on. And it says the language not limited to these things. So I don't think it's good to have things in your constitution that says not limited to, and it lists particular things. So you're like, oh, here's a list, but what else is there that's related to these subjects that could they could really stretch? So you may think like, oh, I wouldn't do it personally, but I want a woman to have the right to do it. Well, they're still going to want you to pay for it and all sorts of different things. When people say that it's just between a woman and her doctor, they don't mean it, because making people pay for it and it being something that's subsidized by the government is a way that they kind of solidify it more into it being a right. With a lot of stuff, and once you get people used to paying for it and you want to take it away, then people cry and cry and cry and cry, and it's just harder once people have that expectation of it's something that is supposed to be pocketed by the taxpayer or paid for the taxpayer and stuff. So don't let them do this. I don't care if you're a little pro-choice, which isn't it like Heartbeat or something in Ohio? I have to look it up. But don't let them do this. Please don't let them do this. So we'll talk more about it later, but yeah, it's radical. In Michigan, we passed something that's very radical, and it's just going to get worse for you guys. And they're pushing their luck already here in Michigan, and they'll do the same in Ohio. Anyway, let's start off talking about what's going on in Canada. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Zelensky came to the parliament and spoke, and they also honored a man who fought for Ukrainian independence in World War II against the Russians, and in the battalion or whatever that he fought with, they were Nazis. And even though Politico has tried to do things like, oh, it's linked Nazism, or I think most people have kind of accepted the fact that this man was a Nazi. So here's a little snippet of the standing ovation that we showed yesterday, but so you know a little bit what we're talking about.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
So again, that man is a Nazi, or was a Nazi, fought under the Nazi, you know. So this has caused a big stir, obviously a big embarrassment. The liberals have asked that they not politicize it. The conservatives are like, no, we need apologies. We need you guys vetted these people right? How did this happen? And so Pierre had posted a video on his page, and it's an ad for him. He's running for PM, so just a little disclaimer, it's going to be cut in a way that he wants it to be cut, but he's going back and forth with Karina Gould, who wanted it struck from the record, which is it happened, guys. You just got to deal with it. Be embarrassed, but it happened.
Prime Minister, because indeed it is the Prime Minister's sole responsibility to guarantee the diplomatic success of major world leaders who come to this country. It is the Prime Minister whose government is responsible for both security and diplomatic vetting of everyone that comes in close proximity of a foreign leader on Canadian soil, particularly a foreign leader who is at war. The government has now admitted that they vetted everyone who was in attendance that day. Will the Prime Minister apologize for having vetted this individual and letting him come anyway?
Mr. Speaker, like all members of this chamber, I am incredibly disappointed in the fact that this individual was invited, as you yourself, Mr. Speaker, have confirmed by you, was recognized in the gallery. I found out, just like every other member in this House at that time, that this individual was present. This is deeply embarrassing for us as parliamentarians, as Canadians, and it is something that I think all of us take extremely seriously, and I would ask my honourable colleagues not to politicize this moment.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is responsible. He is in Ottawa today. He can get on his feet and answer for his massive diplomatic embarrassment and shame.
Stand up.
That minister admitted that the government vetted every single person that was here for the speech. That was the job of the government, which has an entire security and diplomatic apparatus set up for that purpose. Will he finally take responsibility for his latest embarrassment and apologize to Canadians for this massive disaster?
Mr. Speaker, as a descendant of Jewish Holocaust survivors, I am personally very hurt by the fact that this chamber recognized this individual. And I am sure that everyone feels the same way in this chamber. The Parliamentary Protective Service had the appropriate screening in place to ensure the security of last Friday's event, and that is what I was referring to, Mr. Speaker. But what I can continue to say is that we all must take this seriously.
It is the job of the Government of Canada, the Privy Council Office, which is the Prime Minister's personal department, the Prime Minister's security forces in the RCMP, to vet every single person that comes within proximity of a high-profile foreign war leader who is involved in a very difficult conflict right now. It was the job of the Prime Minister to protect that foreign leader from this massive embarrassment. If the Prime Minister failed to have vetting in place, then that in itself is a massive act of incompetence. Will he take responsibility and apologize for that?
Mr. Speaker, I would again ask the Leader of the Opposition to not politicize this issue. He knows just as well as everyone else in this chamber that the decision to invite this individual was yours, Mr. Speaker, and yours alone, that you did not inform the government or the Ukrainian delegation that you were inviting him or that you would recognize him. You made that public yesterday. The Leader of the Opposition knows that, and I would ask that he sticks to the facts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If the Prime Minister is so proud of how he conducted himself, he would be on the floor in the House of Commons today answering questions instead of hiding under a rock.
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are sick and tired of a Prime Minister who never takes responsibilities for the things that happen under his watch, whether it's the record high inflation or interest rates or the doubling of housing costs or the constant international embarrassments. He always finds someone else to throw under the bus. Are you that person?
So, I guess he is that person. I mean, because the speaker has resigned. This is breaking. So that back and forth was from yesterday, I believe. But this is going on, I think, today. Updated. This is a CNN article updated 3/16. So, Speaker of the Canadian House of Commons, Anthony Rota, resigned his post Tuesday, days after he praised a Ukrainian veteran who fought for a Nazi military unit during World War II. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? To the Canadians, they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. People look at US politics all the time, and we are embarrassed all the time for our politics. So this is pretty bad. And to be frank, your PM is pretty embarrassing, Mr. Blackface. But we're just taking turns, right? So you know, Biden falls downstairs. You guys raising for the Nazi. You know, it's not worse than Afghanistan debacle. So, you know, so just take your lumps, I guess, as we talk about this. On Friday, following a joint address to Parliament by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Rota lauded Yaroslav Hunka, 98, a Ukrainian-Canadian war hero who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russian aggressors then and continues to support the troops today. But in the days since human rights and Jewish organizations have condemned Rota's recognition, saying that Hunka served in a Nazi military unit known as the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS. Sorry if I'm butchering that. This house is above any of us. Therefore, I must step down as your speaker, Rota said in Parliament Tuesday afternoon, reiterating his profound regret for my error. That public recognition has caused pain to individuals and communities, including the Jewish community in Canada and around the world, in addition to survivors of the Nazi atrocities in Poland, among other nations, Rota, who is a member of the Liberal Party, added, I accept full responsibility for my actions. So they got a scalp. Now Justin Trudeau, I don't have the comment he made, I think today, but he made a comment yesterday that was pretty weird. He said it was embarrassing, but then he went off into talked about Russian propaganda.
Obviously, it's extremely upsetting that this happened. The speaker has acknowledged his mistake and has apologized. But this is something that is deeply embarrassing to the Parliament of Canada and, by extension, to all Canadians. I think particularly of Jewish MPs and all members of the Jewish community across the country who are commemorating Yom Kippur today. I think it's going to be really important that all of us push back against Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation, and continue our steadfast and unequivocal support for Ukraine as we did last week with announcing further measures to stand with Ukraine in Russia's illegal war against it.
So, we could have just take the L. well, I don't know what Russian propaganda has to do with anything right now. It kind of seems like you're trying to push your own propaganda spin there to soften the embarrassment of what happened. But what is interesting about this, which I can't take credit for thinking of this or being reminded of this, Tim Pool mentioned this. He's probably not the first one who mentioned it, but I saw a clip of him talking about this. Trudeau, back when they were doing the trucker convoy, the Freedom Convoy, Trudeau totally went at his own citizens and went after the conservative, which is the opposition party, for standing with people who wave swastikas and other stuff like that. So I want to flash back with you for a moment at this back and forth about the trucker situation, so you can see Trudeau talk about these things. And this particular conservative he's going to go back and forth with. I don't have this clip. I have it somewhere in my computer, but I didn't have time to find it, so I re-downloaded this. But she brought up the fact that she was is a descendant of Holocaust survivors. So saying that they stand with people who wave swastikas and stuff is pretty egregious. But here's just a little flashback to not too long ago.
Optimistic, hopeful vision for public life isn't a naive dream. It could be a powerful force for change. If Canadians are to trust their government needs to trust Canadians. Those are the words of the Prime Minister in 2015. These people, very often misogynistic, racist, women haters, science deniers, the fringe. Same Prime Minister 6 years later as he fans the flames of an unjustified national emergency. So, Mr. Speaker, when did the Prime Minister lose his way? When did it happen?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. We will choose to stand with Canadians who deserve to be able to get to their jobs, who be able to get their lives back. These illegal protests need to stop, and they will, Mr. Speaker.
I just want to remind the honourable members, including the Right Honourable Prime Minister, to use words that are not inflammatory in the House, and that's for both sides. The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Unbecoming as a Prime Minister. It's been 48 hours that the government went from doing nothing to a national emergency. 48 hours into using the measures, 48 hours without providing Parliament with a justification. So my question is simple. When will the Prime Minister admit that he's lost control of the situation, that he's lost control of his country, that he's lost control of his caucus, and that he's lost control of his leadership?
Right, Honourable
Mr. Speaker, I've never seen.
So, yeah, I wasn't in that snippet, but Melissa at one point did note that she is the descendant of Holocaust survivors. So to say that they're standing with or aligned with what he was alluding to or whatever for that kind of insult is just ridiculous and disgusting for someone who's supposed to be unifying the country, but they didn't like what the truckers were doing because they wanted to impose all these crazy mandates. So when people decided to protest, do a peaceful protest, they decided that they were going to malign them. And you never know what all kind of people will go to, whatever, you can't vouch for everyone who might go to an event or something, but these people were just fighting for their freedoms. And the emergency powers that he took and the sort of things that they were doing, going to, people's bank accounts and all kinds of different stuff was just so unnecessary. Especially Canada was so outrageous. Like there are places in the United States that were really crazy, like California and New York and, Illinois and stuff, particularly Chicago. They were just bonkers. And Michigan was bad too. Michigan was bad and things didn't make sense. Our governor was a lockdown tyrant. But the thing about Canada is they had such high participation rates and they still like was people voluntarily getting jabbed, and they still wanted to enforce it so strongly. And the uh suppression of speech was off the charts. I got a ding from YouTube because I was talking about how they were didn't the kids in the was the Ronald McDonald House or something, if they weren't jabbed, they wanted them moved or something like that. And I don't quite remember all the story, but when I reported on it, um I had a colorful title. Sure. But that got me a hard strike, and I couldn't post for and I think I maybe had another one, so then I couldn't post for like 2 weeks or something. So if it's fallen off my account now since then, but it was wild, and I appealed it, they wouldn't let me whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll be careful about my titles, I guess. When I say about Canada. Particularly I guess regarding to the jab. By the way, side note, a friend of mine, um, her son, she did a TikTok video where she was really upset. And she used to be a Democrat. She caucused for Hillary back in the day, and just kind of realized, particularly especially through the lockdowns and stuff, that the world is crazy. And so now she identifies as an independent, and her channel really started blowing up, talking about just how a lot of things that make sense with the jab, at least how people were reacting to it or trying to force it, and bodily autonomy going out the window. So she talked about stuff like that. So she I wouldn't call her conspiratorial, but she has a healthy distrust of the government. But her son was told that he had to get a jab to go to school, and it was not the COVID jab, it was another jab. And so she researched it, and she's like, okay, I think that's fine. And so she got a call from her son, and his arm was hurting all day, it was really killing him and stuff. And so she called some kind of health department or whatever. Turns out they gave him the wrong shot. And so she was so upset, and she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And so asked him if he was okay, and asked her if he was okay. And she said his arm still really hurt, but he was sleeping at the time. People in the comments were like, get a lawyer. And just be careful with your kids, man. It's just people's injecting you with the wrong shots, and medical malpractice is a lot of people die from medical malpractice. So my grandma always called the doctors butchers, but she went to the hospital a lot, so she didn't like to go. She had kidney trouble late in life. So anyway, yeah, just thought of that. Sorry to get off track, but she was really distressed, and I wish I had I wish I could hug her, calm her down, and to do something for her and for her son. But that's got to be scary, concerning when you send your kid to get a shot, and then they were like, oh, we stuck him with the wrong thing. Like how often does that happen? How often does that happen? But anyway, Melissa here, she had some comments back and forth with Karina Gold over the erasing of their applause for the Nazi, which I can understand why you wouldn't want that out there. But again, it happened, and you kind of just got to deal with it. And I thought their exchange back and forth was interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll go ahead and move on.
The Speaker of the House took the fall, and the Prime Minister continues to blame everyone else. A full-blown international embarrassment for our country, for our allies, and for everything this nation did to defeat the Nazis. An actual Nazi invited to the House of Commons, welcomed, and celebrated as a hero. and a government that vetted everyone here. The PM has called Canadian citizens Nazis. Will he muster the courage and stand up on his feet today and take responsibility?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all feel the deep embarrassment and shame of what happened on Friday. Had anyone in this House known what the Speaker was going to do ahead of time and who this person was, I am certain that not a single person would have stood in this House of Commons. But the fact of the matter is, and my Conservative colleagues know this, that neither the Prime Minister nor the government nor the Ukrainian delegation or any parliamentarian in this place knew ahead of time. It was the Speaker's decision. He's taken responsibility and he has resigned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Thornhill.
The minister who is now whispering was louder when she also painted Canadians as Nazis, and she can't bring herself to apologize for an actual Nazi this government vetted. Worse even, she tried to strike it from the historical record of this House as if it never happened. A descendant of Holocaust survivors distorting the Holocaust. You should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know how many...
Just a reminder for all questions and comments to be through the chair. The Honourable Member for Thornhill, you have about 5 seconds left there.
How many times I'm going to have to ask this Prime Minister for an apology that he has slandered, dishonored, and embarrassed Holocaust survivors, but I think 2 times is too many.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, while the member opposite tries to personally attack me, I will actually stay focused on the facts. And the fact of the matter is, and she knows this as well as every other member in this House, is that it was the Speaker who decided to invite this individual. It was the Speaker who acknowledged that he was going to acknowledge him in the chamber. No one in this chamber knew ahead of time of who he was. The Speaker has taken full responsibility for this. He has resigned. It was the right thing to do. It was the honorable thing to do. And it is something that had to be done.
So the Speaker again has resigned, and they're just gonna let it be that, I guess, at least as far as Trudeau and his party. So I don't know how the Conservative Party is gonna continue on with that. Again, big international embarrassment. Though, to Pierre's point from the other day, everyone's got to be vetted and looked into, right? I would assume, and that is some kind of failure if they haven't been. I can say, like, when I've gone to events like at the White House and other things, they do look into people. And even like there was a rally, and I wanted to get a picture. I had asked about like getting a picture with Trump or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, we have to vet or whatever." Now, I don't think they follow all those rules all the time. So there's that. But there is some kind of process. When you're that close, I would assume, at least in the US when it comes to the president, so I would assume there's processes in place as far as vetting when people come in and they're going to be near the prime minister or near a president of another nation. So it is interesting, and people stood, not just people on the left, standing ovation for the Nazi, but if I don't know how much people were deeply thinking about they fought against the Russians. is there a possibility, and just been like, maybe I should sit down. So it sucks all the way around for everybody, I'm sure, but again, it is interesting that they were so quick to call Canadians, who were obviously not Nazis, or throw those allegations when people just wanted to be free. And then not too long, fast forward into the future, you get this situation where they're actually applauding it. A literal Nazi is just wild to me. It's just wild to me. Interesting tea. Before I move on, I do want to thank Ava. I want to acknowledge I saw your comment about making an Amazon wish list, and I will do that. It's a good suggestion. I'll do that. So thank you very much, and I'll try to have one tomorrow. Anyway, Kari Lake is set soon. I don't think she's officially announced for Senate, but she's obviously going to run for Senate, which Blake Masters Trump hasn't discouraged Blake Masters from running for Senate again, because saying that I don't think you could beat Kari Lake, and maybe he can't. Maybe no one can beat Kari Lake in the Senate run, and I'm assuming people watching have strong and passionate, positive feelings about Kari Lake, and I liked Kari Lake. I loved watching her dismantle the media about all kinds of different stuff on the campaign trail. If you go back and look at some episodes, I've definitely given her lots of praise. I think she's very articulate, and she obviously knows how to handle the media and do media. She comes from the media world herself. But there were issues. I have family out in Arizona. They were concerned about some things going on in election day, and how operations ran. And I'm just like, this doesn't look great when things don't go smoothly on election day, and you're the Secretary of State, and you want to be the governor. Katie Hobbs was the I think Katie Hobbs was the Secretary of State. Someone can correct me if I was wrong. But things just did not go well in different areas, with people reporting different things. But Kari has seen she challenged the election, believes that she at least won, and she didn't have obviously any victories to overturn the results and stuff. So anyway, she's moved on from her run in the governorship, and she's running for senator. But I just want to throw this out there. My family, again, who lives out in Arizona, they pointed out that people still have a lot of love out there for the McCains, who I don't, have a particularly lot of love for McCain. And however, folks out there do. And so she did burn some people who were their supporters, and openly said, don't vote for me. So that's not a wise thing to do. So I just want to put it out there that, hey, it's just very possible that she also just didn't win. That's a possibility too. Arizona has gotten a bit bluer. It was red, and it's purple, I guess, ish. And I'm concerned about it getting bluer. I think with really good candidates, you won't find that to be the case. I think they'll overcome and win, Republicans again. But the GOP in Arizona is hollowed out and has issues, just like in Michigan. Our Republican Party is devastated. And I think she'll have an easy primary if she runs. That doesn't mean that she's going to take the W. However, she's doing some media circuit, and she is a firm believer in Trump and firmly in the Trump camp. And so she went at DeSantis on this very popular podcast and said some things that just don't line up with reality. So here's the clip.
On that face off between DeSantis, let us not forget that DeSantis also shut the beaches down. DeSantis took a page out of Gavin Newsom's playbook. Despite what he says, he shut the beaches down. He did force vaccines. He did force face masks on our kids. So he tries to act like he was perfect. And Florida was open.
DeSantis forced vaccines on kids?
He forced vaccines on people, on workers. He forced face masks on children. And he was for all that. DeSantis was for all of that. So he thinks that we forgot that as well. Now, granted, he didn't continue the misery as long.
Was it 1 month or a couple weeks on what it was?
It was a little more than that. The beaches were shut down to people.
Right.
So anybody who shuts a beach down, I mean.
So the beaches were pretty open. I'm not saying they didn't shut down anything at all, but they opened things relatively quickly. As a matter of fact, there was a guy who was on like dressed in Grim Reaper costume and would just go across the beach as like a warning, like, you guys are all gonna die because you're outside in the sun on the beach catching COVID. And I'm like, how hot was that guy? So and people were calling him Death Santis because he wouldn't be all super locked down like Gavin Newsom, like Gretchen Whitmer, like Andrew Cuomo. And at first they did a little bit, and then DeSantis, I've seen interviews of talking about it. He's like, the data wasn't really there, it didn't make a lot of sense, so they opened stuff up. And as far as like the forcing of the vaccines, now DeSantis, they did like push the vaccine as far as like availability and access, and especially to the elderly, so much so that people were accusing him, like 60 Minutes and stuff did a video, and they were kind of alleging that he was making sure that his voters and supporters got vaxxed before everyone else. Like he was prioritizing it that way. Like, elderly people vote for DeSantis. Elderly people are getting jabbed. He's making the jabs available to the old people. That's so messed up. And it's like, maybe they're just the vulnerable population who needs the jab. So there was a bunch of crazy stuff. The media just despise him all kinds of different ways. But people really sang his praises at the time. Trump really sang his praises at the time. And so did Kari Lake. So someone made a little compilation video of some of the positive things that she said in the past. I'm about to play it for you. But I just got to say, I don't mind primaries getting a little tough and people, having vigorous policy debates, or people talking about our principles, and am I more conservative than you? I'm gonna out conservative you. Am I more principled? This is the real principle. I understand it more than you do, etc. Blah blah blah. Like the abortion issue, Trump has said some things that have been like egregious to me, and he's talking from a pragmatic stance on some things. Versus, people are like, you don't understand the principle. And we those are things that we can debate, especially and flesh out during a primary. What I don't appreciate is when people are just dishonest about stuff. I don't like the dishonesty. And when you're, especially because so many people on the left were dishonest toward these people, dishonest toward Kari Lake, dishonest toward Trump, dishonest toward DeSantis. And I took time and I would stand up for all these people, not just because they were on my side, just because it's wrong to be dishonest and to lie about this stuff. So when they do it to each other, it's just really disgusting and disappointing. And I see a lot of it on Trump's side and his team, and DeSantis isn't the only person. Like even in the midterms, when Trump's people came after Kathy Barnett, I was really disappointed. Is the best word for it. I was disappointed at how they would slander her. Like Rick Grinnell and other people trying to paint her some kind of crazy BLM activist, and did this video that was all super chopped up and stuff. I wrote an article about it on my website, blacktnews.com, about it. So I'm I'm disappointed. And it's the stuff that they're saying just isn't true. Like it's not a good look when Trump tries to say that Cuomo handled COVID better than DeSantis. Because people are going after, we're uplifting Andrew Cuomo, not to be like a comparison to DeSantis. People were uplifting and praising Cuomo to say to make Trump look bad. Like, this is the responsible person in the country. How come Trump can't be like Andrew Cuomo? And so to have Trump circle back around and be like, actually, Cuomo did it better than DeSantis. Like, that's not true. And if you believe that, then that means, did you really support the lockdowns the whole time? Which, he did lock down the country. 15 days to slow the spread, which wasn't 15 days to slow the spread. And you can say he left it to the governors, but he also bashed the governors. Asked Brian Kemp. He would bash Florida. So anyway, Kari Lake is saying that DeSantis is not being honest about his record and forced kids and people to get the jab and all the other kind of stuff. And by the way, Kristi Noem, who did endorse Trump recently, she tried to kind of allude like other people didn't do right during COVID, which I assume that she means DeSantis, and ignoring the elephant in the room, like who's behind her. But Kristi Noem, like, she had the approach of, if your business is requiring you to get jabbed, then you need to go find a new job if you don't want to take the jab. Like, she didn't, she protected the business workers trying to enforce the jab on their employees. She didn't take the side of the employees who didn't want to get jabbed. So that's the authoritative kind of stuff. There's more evidence of it on the pro-Trump camp than it is on the DeSantis camp. So I either stand by your record or don't, but don't try to rewrite history as if it didn't just happen.
DeSantis of the West. Honestly, other than being called Trump in a dress, that is the greatest compliment you could pay me, and I appreciate that. He's right up there right now, and his name is Governor Ron DeSantis. He is gutsy. The guy has bigger... Okay. Wait, let me think about how I want to word this. My staff always says, whatever you do, do not say balls. I'll tell you what he's got. I don't know if you heard of this, but he's got BDE. Anybody know what that means? Ask your kids about it later.
I'm going to be honest. It did take me a second. I was like, it took me a second. If it's still taking you a second, I'm not going to say. You can figure it out.
I call it big DeSantis energy. Right? He's got the same kind of BDE that President Trump has.
1 year later.
Let us not forget that DeSantis also shut the beaches down. DeSantis took a page out of Gavin Newsom's playbook.
Northwest Florida lawyer Daniel Uhlfelder has launched his Grim Reaper Beach tour to protest the reopening of Florida beaches during the COVID-19 pandemic. Uhlfelder strolls Miramar Beach dressed in black. He wears a mask, carries a plastic scythe, and has a message.
The Grim Reaper represents death. This is a deadly virus.
Uhlfelder has even sued Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for not taking statewide action to close the beaches.
And so, as he was locking down his citizens, he would then go and have these extravagant dinners at the French Laundry to basically rub his citizens' noses in the fact that he was treating them like peasants. In Florida, we weren't locking them down. We lifted our people up.
So, again, he locked down for a little while, but he did open, and people ragged on him about it. He got a lot of media hate for it. They were calling him Death Santis. He did really push to get people access to the vaccine. He did. mostly really prioritize the elderly, so much to the point where the media was accusing him of favoring people who vote for him, like some kind of I don't know, ethical violation or something. When so he did do that, but as far as like trying to enforce people to get it or whatever, I don't know what reality that is coming from with Kari Lake there. However, Jeremy Redfern, who works for the DeSantis administration, he's on his post, and he has a Twitter thread with a couple of screenshots and images, which I will quickly show you. Noting that federally, there are federal beaches and other things that were closed during that time. Kari Lake is mistaken. It was Donald Trump that closed beaches, forced kids to wear masks, and banned tag at recess, and was preparing for military COVID vaccine mandate. Governor DeSantis' fault. The Trump Fauci White House task force banned vaccine passports and forced schools to open. So, yeah, here's some, different highlighted things that he pointed out, so you guys can go check out his thread. This right here, the highlighted, is about the military. Saying it would be mandatory until it was FDA approved. So that was end of the term and stuff, but and Trump, what's funny about how they attacked DeSantis and all this stuff is that Trump will not say he did anything wrong. So if DeSantis is just trying to go by like, yeah, we did this stuff at first and we moved away from it. And if Trump, getting Operation Warp Speed, people access to the jab and, locking down for the time that they did or whatever, if he made all the right moves, if, the schools remaining closed or having masks, referring to the stuff that the CDC said under his Trump administration, if all that was right, because he has admitted no wrong. He has admitted no wrong on this stuff. If all that was right, why try to make it seem like DeSantis was worse or that he was doing like the same stuff if all the moves that Trump made was good? If all the moves Trump made was good and DeSantis did kind of the opposite, and that's bad, why you're trying to make it undo what he did? If that makes sense. Like if locking down, and how Trump handled everything was good and he has nothing to apologize for, nothing to reflect on, then why hide from it all? Like, why be like, no, he was Fauci? Just like, if you don't regret giving Fauci a medal and having Fauci make a lot of decisions, then just be like, yeah, Fauci's great. But you don't want to do that because everybody hates Fauci. So Trump is like between this really weird space because he doesn't want to apologize for anything. And I don't begrudge him for a lot of decisions that he made, especially early on. He's not an expert. He's listening to these people. They're telling him different things. And, they're telling him all these people are going to die. And he's in charge of the country. He's responsible for so many lives and their livelihoods. It's a tremendous burden. And, he doesn't want to be the person responsible for millions and millions and millions of people dying. Right? So, yeah, he's like, okay, let's close things down for 15 days if that'll help. And then they didn't even have the data there at the time, but he didn't know that, I guess, to really justify them shutting down for 15 days. They just kind of hoped it would manifest. And then they just kept pushing it down the line, pushing down the line, pushing down the line. And then, he'd say, well, people can open up if they want to, but then he would still ream on like Kemp because they're like, well, the media is going to give me a hard time if you do this. And Kemp is just like, well, we got to follow the data. So Trump would be on his podium, trash Georgia for opening up these are just things that happen. And if you're proud of that, if you're proud of how you handled everything, just own it. Because you're not apologizing, so just own it. But you don't have to have your surrogates go out and make it seem like everyone did the same thing that you did. Because if everybody did the same thing you did, then you're less special for making all the right decisions, are you not? So I just don't I don't appreciate people being dishonest about this stuff. Kari Lake was all over praising DeSantis before, but what's different now? He's running against Trump, and I also don't understand the attacks because Trump is way up in the polls. If you believe the polls, I think some of the polls are bogus, but I do believe that he's ahead. I believe he's really ahead. But if he's that far ahead and not a threat at all, why the dishonesty? Because that doesn't make me dislike DeSantis more. That makes me dislike Trump. Because I'm like, I didn't like when people lied about you. Like, don't lie about other people. Please. Please. And you could say, oh, you're soft because it's primaries. I do not mind people going hard about policy things. I really don't. I made hit piece videos. That is what I did for the Michigan Republican Party. It's not the only thing I did for the Michigan Republican Party, but I loved making hit piece videos. I loved it. But things that I did were honest. They'd be really like, right in, your kidney, you're going to die kind of things. But they weren't, they weren't immoral. Some people make immoral ads that are just detached from reality, but they invoke enough emotion that they're effective. But I don't want to tell lies. I want to get you with the truth. And I don't appreciate the lies. There was, I'll tell you something that's unrelated to campaign stuff that really annoyed me from people on the right. So and this is public information, so it's not like I'm spilling some kind of tea, but I'm sure many of you probably haven't heard about this. So Stanley Grott, he's one of the electors actually. He was a clerk, but he's no longer like a clerk of the elections as he's being like indicted and stuff for the elector thing. But he wanted to run for Secretary of State. So people knew that if he did that, then we would just like lose badly. Now we didn't win anyway, but they were concerned about how badly it would just destroy our ticket if he was on there. And they allegedly wanted to win that cycle, right? So this was 2018 cycle, the midterms. So he ended up getting a nice payment from that was arranged by the chair of the party, who was Ron Weiser at the time, to just drop out of the race. And so when information started to come out about it, they're like, oh no, it's not like that. He got paid all this money to do like delegate training and I don't know, assemble delegates or doing like party kind of stuff. That's he got paid in that kind of way. And there were all these Republicans coming out saying like, oh, I know them, and or the chair, like they wouldn't do this thing, they wouldn't whatever, and they're just covering. And I'm like, I know y'all know enough information to know that this story is absolutely true. At the very least, shut up and don't say anything. If you like, if it looks bad and you don't want to say, just don't say anything. Just stay quiet. Like zip on your news feed, like zip on your Facebook page. Don't come out and just lie to all these people. Because I know you know it's true. I know you know it's true. I know you know it's true. And eventually it came out, and people posted like the actual like contract and document. Yeah, he got paid to drop out. Again, this is information that's out there. I'm not like, it may be news to you, but it's not news to some of the people watching. Yeah, but it was true, and obviously true. And I didn't appreciate some people who were just going to bed. And you know what? Weiser, former chair, he was chair 3 times. he's a very wealthy guy. I can, a lot of people wanted his money. A lot of people still want his money. A lot of people don't want to cross Ron. I understand. But you could have just, because it was obviously a true thing that happened. So, I don't like being lied to, and I don't like people lying, and I don't like it from our side. I don't like it from other people's side, and I don't like when our own side lies about each other. I don't like when our side will lie about the other side. Just like, if there's enough horrible things about your opponent, just tell the truth. If there's so many terrible things about DeSantis, just tell the truth. If there's so many things that are terrible about Trump, just tell the truth. And I made a video in the 2020 election. My sister's in the chat. She was in the video. And it was like, why aren't you angry? And it just went over some big lies that the media was pushing about Donald Trump. And it was about the I know I mentioned impeachment and I think some COVID stuff, and I don't remember all was in the video. I can go back and find it or whatever. It was a good video. It was a really good video. And at the end, I believe it made the end of the point of the video of like, if there's so many things that they need to say that are untrue, can Trump be that bad? If they need to lie about so many different things. So if your opponent is so awful, just tell the truth. That's all you need. I promise you. I was very good at my job, and all I did was tell the truth. You don't need to make up stuff. You really don't. And distort and gaslight. You don't need to do that. And what's worse is that it just strips you of your integrity. It strips you of your integrity. So now I got to look at you sideways. Because if you're willing to lie to me about this, what else have you been not honest about? And then you come off as a simp and you come off as a grifter. And there's a lot of people on the right. There needs to be some kind of reckoning who have just totally thrown out any good sense and consistency and principles on particular matters because they've chosen a horse and they're going to back the horse. Even, I mean, I can think of a couple different like influencers, like just phoning it in on the Trump side for sure. Especially like when Trump like said his comments about the 6-week thing, so people said some crazy comments, absolutely crazy comments that they wouldn't have agreed with a couple months ago. But they got to protect their person. And I just can't respect that. There's a lot of people that I follow or did follow that just look really shady. But I understand a lot of people are afraid of their audiences. I appreciate my audience, and I'm, I hate to lose followers or whatever, but it is what it is. I just can't. I might be wrong about something. We might have a difference of opinion, but if I'm not gonna say something I don't think is true just to keep people. I looked at a post I made at a drop I had in subscribers, and I looked at some posts that I made. I was like, oh, it was something about Trump. I think I lost someone. I said something about Vivek. It, is what it is. Is what it is. But I just gotta be true to me. So anyway, rant over. Last thing I just want to note before I let you go, is that the debate between DeSantis and Newsom is on. Yesterday we talked about I think Newsom is totally running for president. He hasn't announced yet, but he's made some moves that I'm like, he's totally running. And he agreed. I think he pitched it to Sean Hannity, which he's been going on Fox and a lot of places as of late to raise his name ID, to look more sane. Like there's really crazy Democrats who take really, really crazy positions, and then they'll go on Fox and then they'll try to appear a bit softer. Eric Swalwell does that, and Gavin Newsom is doing it, and he pitched about like a debate or whatever, with DeSantis. And so they're going to do it on Sean's show, and Sean's going to like moderate it. And it's going to be on the 30th of November. And I hope to God that DeSantis does well in it, because this is going to be a debate between two different futures: a track of where America should go, freedom in Florida. It could be like the tyranny of like of California, where people flee. And you would think it would be a slam dunk for DeSantis, but you guys know that DeSantis just isn't great at debating. He's just not. And again, I felt like I was probably harder on him than other people were when I watched the debate. So he's so good at interviews. It's so frustrating. I was talking to my oldest sister about this the other day, and I'm like, he's so good in interviews, but he's just so awkward. And she was complaining about like his retail politics when he's like going person to person and working a room. And she's like, you'd think he would have gotten better at that or try to get better at that. I'm like, Gina, sometimes you just can't get better at it. Like sometimes you can't. And you know, it's hard for some people. Some people are just naturally hams, and they can work through it. Like Trump has such natural charisma that's just beyond natural. And well, I said natural charisma that's beyond natural. I don't want to say it's supernatural, but it's freaky. Like he didn't have to work for it, but it's like there's not a lot of people who even have natural charisma that are on that level. It's unusual. It's unusual how you can be on a stage with like 8-10 other people and just suck up all the oxygen and all the whole spotlight is on you. You know, it's uncanny. DeSantis is just not that way, obviously. And I'm, you know, well, I didn't love being on stage, I guess, as a young child or whatever. I just kind of got over that. Like, I don't mind singing in front of thousands of people. That doesn't really bother me anymore too much. But working a room, I guess I don't know how to work a room. I still don't really know how to do that too well. But I'm better at it than I guess I was before. But it's still something that I have to get accustomed to. So I can relate to DeSantis being a big dork, and you know, I get it. But he's so good at interviews. So what I'm really trying to say is I hope he doesn't blow it, because this is a very important debate. And if he blows it, he's really going to screw himself for the Iowa and other stuff like that, I think. But if Newsom does really good, that's just continuing to elevate Newsom. Now, there's so much stuff to go at Newsom for about the state of California. You would think it would be a slam dunk. You'd also think, he's on Fox, going on Fox doing the debate. So, friendly territory, you would assume toward DeSantis. But at the same time, you don't know, because Hannity is a firmly, usually a Trump person. So maybe he doesn't want to make DeSantis look too good. So there's just a lot of factors going into it. And I've got I just can't be that confident, like, oh, DeSantis is totally gonna get it. Like, I can't do that. Because I think it's gonna keep me up at night. Being honest. And Gavin Newsom is he's very slimy and very slick. And I think this is probably gonna be a better natural setting for him to do well. The facts aren't on his side. But there are people who are so good with words that the truth doesn't always matter. And if you don't have someone who can kind of really bust them on it, then they can get away with a lot of things. So, I just, I wonder where the debate will go. I wonder how it'll turn out. I wish I could have the utmost confidence that DeSantis would just rock it out. It depends what kind of energy he brings. If he brings like the energy that he brings when he's like, pressing up against reporters when they challenge him, or when he's like on a one-on-one or whatever, if he can bring that same energy, then he'll do great. If he brings that, I'm going to say decline 50 times before this broadcast is over energy that he did like in the other debate, I I'm concerned. But good luck to him. Good luck to him. I hope he smokes Newsom. But Newsom definitely wants to be president, and he's making plans. Believe me. I that seems very, very, very obvious to me. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, cost of stream, cost of remote website, all that stuff. So if you can support in that way, I do very much appreciate you. There's a link in the Facebook and YouTube description, wherever you're watching it from, that can take you right to the website. I will have an Amazon wish list. Thank you for the suggestion, Ava, and I'll have that up tomorrow, so that'll, I guess, be in the description too. So thank you for being interested in helping in that sort of way as well. So again, thank you. Check out different stuff that I have written. Like, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble. If you're in Ohio and there's someone in Ohio who's like on the fence about the initiative and they need a little nudge there, maybe that's a good thing to get for yourself, to talk to them about it, or to push them on it. It talks about rights. It talks about a lot of the political landscape, especially in the US. It talks about philosophy and science and obviously theology. So you guys can check that out. Also got other merch you guys can check out at blacktnews.com. While we're on the subject, since I just mentioned the book, it does talk about different passages in the Bible, like the different go-to things. Like people bring up Jeremiah 1:5, and I Numbers 11 is about abortion. I've heard that passage too many times over the past year or so, 2 years or so. But I think a really good and important thing that I dive into the book is that if you are a Christian or consider yourself to be a Christian, it should be total beyond like murder being bad, and we believe that it is murder. It's taking a life, premeditated killing of another human being. Beyond like the blanket, it's bad to do it. Like, it should not be anywhere within your nature to believe that it is okay to have an abortion, especially if you are a believer. Like, look at the different reasons why women will have an abortion. Like, finances is a big one. Like, 86% of the women who have abortion are unmarried, and most women who have abortions are adults. They're between the ages of like 20 to 40, and so these are adult women. Again, most of them are married. Of course, the Bible frowns upon, sex out of wedlock. So there's that. But if you do it for, like, is it out of fear? Like, God has not given us a spirit of fear. Is it, it's also like, take no thought what eat, drink, put on, etc. Is it because of money? Is, there's different things that if you go through the word, that you should not allow to capture your life and your heart so much that you would find it acceptable to solve the problem by taking someone else's life. So that's a narrative I don't hear a lot of people talk about when they talk about the issue, when they bring up religion, that it should be totally against your nature to get to that point. But that is something that I also go through in the book. So again, I just recommend that you check it out. And to people who are like, why write a book focused on theology at all? Because people bring it up regardless if I bring it up at all. So I got sick of it, so I just made a book. It's really that simple. I might do a non-religious one day, but it'll have a lot of the same ideas in it, because it does cover a lot of non-religious things in it as well. So anyway, check out the book. Check out my other books as well. I'll be at Motor City Comic Con later this year. That's in November. I don't remember the weekend, but it's in November sometime. It'll be before the Newsom debate. But it's in November sometime. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, I hope to see you guys there. I just wanted to look at some of the comments before I let you go. Someone said they tried to kick out somebody. I assume that's Newsom. Oh, my sister said I got better at working a room. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you to those who are going to watch back later on your drive home or cooking dinner or whatever you guys watch. God bless you. And good luck to the Canadians, man. Good luck to you guys. I hope you guys can get some better representation. I guess same for us, right? But good luck.